Hello, welcome to Big Bang Radio Spotlights. This is a show where we talk to independent artists from all around the world, all about their music and their process for making it. I'm your host, Isaac Anderson, and today I get to sit down with the musician Pearl the Girl. Without any further ado, here's the interview. Well, Pearl, thank you so much for joining me all the way down there in Australia. The time difference is definitely there. My day is kind of ending and yours is just beginning. But tell you what, music never sleeps. So we gotta get this done. And I was excited to talk to you. So how you doing today, by the way?
I'm very good. That's so true. Music does never sleep. And, it is 10 p.m. somewhere, so I feel like I should crack open a beer or something.
Hey, it's all good. It'll be 10 o'clock here pretty soon. So you're pretty close. You're pretty close. Well, I guess we should probably hop right into things right now. I ask all the artists that I talk to this question first off, and I'm always really interested to hear what people are going to say. And that question is, what is your first musical memory? Kind of like as far back as you can really think, what's the first time that you have a memory associated with music?
Do you know, it's funny. That's a funny question that you ask. It's a great opening question. And
thank you.
I don't even know, the way that my parents have told the stories of how I got into music has probably written over any actual first memory that I had of music. My parents are singers, so my dad's a musician, my mum's a singer, and actors and stuff. So I'd always grown up in the creative industry. I was always told never to get a day job. Going to uni was probably not on the cards for me. In fact, my parents laughed at me when I was like, I'm going to go to uni, and they're like, yeah, right. But the story that they tell is that they walked into my room when I was 2 years old and I was just singing away. It just couldn't stop me. All I would do was sing. My first performance memory would probably be when I was 9 years old. My parents had a covers band and they play at the Monkey Bar in Balmain, and they would get me up to sing 2 or 3 songs, and everyone would be like, what is this 9-year-old doing on the stage? And then I'd start singing, they'd be like, oh. Yeah, so that's probably my first memory of it all.
Heard that. Yeah, you grew up in a musical family. Tell me more about kind of your family and kind of the whole dynamic between that.
So the way my parents met, I love this story. The way my parents met was my mum was in the crowd at one of my dad's gigs, and she was a bit of a, I suppose, groupie. I don't know if that's offensive or not. But so they met. So my mum met my dad there, and then they started dating, and 10 years later they had my brother, and my brother is actually a DJ, and he's a very good DJ. His name's Cairo, and he releases his own music and produces his own music as well. So, and he kind of went at it from I grew up learning piano, and mum was always like, you're never going to make money if you don't write your own songs. And it kind of forced me. So as a kid, I was like, oh, I don't want to go to piano lessons. God. But I just sit there and then when I was 12, I remember, maybe 12 or 13, I remember a bit adamant that I was quitting piano. I did not want to bar of it anymore. I was like, because it's hard to get a kid to care about anything, but it's also hard to spend money on something. And I was essentially being babysat for an hour because my piano teacher knew that I didn't want to learn anything. She was just sitting there going, okay, well, I'm just going to take your parents' money, And I know that now because I've taught kids as well, and I'm just like, okay, well, this is a waste of time. But I went at it from very much learning instruments growing up, and my brother kind of went at it more from the DJ side of things, and he fell in love with music when he started clubbing and kind of loved that side of it. And so, yeah.
I do want to ask you this because I'm curious. Was there a moment that you kind of, said to yourself, wow, music is really something that I want to pursue? Or was there absolutely no doubt in your mind anytime is I always wanted to do music and this is just me living that?
There was literally no doubt. there's been many times that I've doubted myself, but there was no doubt that that I was always going to have a career in music and a career in the arts. A career in the arts means like having 7 or 8 different jobs. I mean, you're a radio presenter, you're a musician as well. Like, you've got to be everything, right?
It's a full-time position, yeah.
What's that, sorry?
I say it's a full-time position for sure. It's you got to wear a lot of hats if you're independent.
It's a full-time position, very underpaid position as well sometimes.
So you're getting paid for this? Come on now. Making us feel bad.
Yeah, but there was never any doubt that I was going to be a musician. I think I had a few moments. Okay, so when I was 17, I went through like my first proper breakup, and I was in school with the same guy, and I never really, and this particular school that I went to was a performing arts school, a fantastic performing arts school, but I never really fit into it. It was only kids of there was only like 60 kids in the entire school for from years 7 to 12, so like till the end of high school, right? And I remember going away for summer holidays and coming back and going, I'm not going back to school. For some reason in my mind, I was just like, that's not what I'm going to do. And I put together this whole Excel spreadsheet pitch to my parents being like, this is why I'm not going back to school. I'm already in the career that I want. I'm already doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing and in the career that I want to be in. So why would I go back, waste $15,000 of your money learning to do stuff that I'm already doing? Like, it makes no sense. And also, there was no way I was going to pass my HSC because no one in my class, that's like your end of year finals, because no one in my class gave a about academics at all. Like, we did 6 hours of dancing a day. There was no way that anyone was going to pass or go to, uni or college. And my parents just kind of sat there and was like, yeah, okay, sure. I mean, I'm like, that's it. I put together this whole Excel spreadsheet. I was fully prepared to have this debate about what I was going to do next year. And they were just like, yeah, of course you're not going back to school.
Well, goodness.
And so that's the moment that I launched straight into like doing music and acting full time. I was in a TV show at the time, so it kind of made sense not to go back and do that.
If you weren't acting or you weren't playing music, what would you be doing? Like, suppose you couldn't do either of those things. Would you have any alternate plans, or would you just kind of like sit around and wish you could do that?
This is such a relevant question, particularly as we're going through this whole pandemic, because I've been sitting at my table every day I've been sitting at the piano every day going to write music and just being like, I'm so uninspired. I have no desire to create anything right now, because I'm like, what am I going to be inspired by? My 4 walls. Like, I have tried to change them. They're not giving me anything. But I actually think I take a lot of interest in psychology. I suppose as musicians, most of us are depressed or sometimes depressed.
We have some emotional roller coaster things going on in our lives. That's part of the reason we create music. So.
Well, exactly. Yeah. So I think I can't imagine going back to school for 5 years or something to study, but I think I'd probably take a lot of interest in psychology and also massage, which is weird, but I just have really strong hands and I'm very fascinated by fixing people's bodies.
Did not expect that. That's awesome.
I actually have chronic pain in my spine from all the dancing that I did as a kid, which, by the way, that dancing career never quite took off. So it was probably a slight waste of time. But now I've got a lot of pain in my back from all that. So I like to help people manage their pain. Yeah,
well,
that would be cool.
Well, I think you help them manage your pain and in the music too, and in a way, acting. People can kind of project themselves in that regard. So I guess that still ties into kind of what you do. So it seems kind of like your mind always
Yeah.
sticks in that place. It's weird how people that create art have that. I always find that really interesting.
Well, I think they're incredibly empathetic people.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like tooting my own horn here, being like I'm a saint, but we have that emotional intelligence to kind of recognize what's happening in a room and how people are feeling without them actually telling us.
Since we're talking about entertainment, I think now we should probably get into kind of the music that you encompass right now. So you go under Pearl the Girl, but your name is actually Pearl Herbert, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's correct.
Where did Pearl the Girl come from? Obviously, it rhymes, but like, what does that name mean to you? And when did you decide that you were going to do that instead of Pearl Herbert?
I've always been called Pearl the Girl. Like I feel like it's just one of those things that, especially for Australians, like we're always down for a nickname, and if we can't shorten it, we'll make it longer. And so Pearl the Girl has always been, as a kid growing up, my aunties and uncles would call me that. And when I released the first single, I Hate You, I actually did just put it up as Pearl. And then about 2 days later, my partner, who was just like, oh my gosh, no, it's got to be Pearl the Girl. What are you doing? Like, no, rebrand, like take it down. We've got to start again. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right. Because growing up, I've had many musical aliases. I've worked under many different names is what I'm trying to say. And one thing that I was told as a kid, well, I was like 16, and one of my managers at the time was like, oh, Pearl's never going to be the first thing to come up on Google. And I was like, so you want me to change my name because it's not going to be the first thing to come up on Google? What? Like, and then he was like, exactly right. And I'm like, okay. So then I moved to like Drifting Lights, and then I moved to I don't know. I don't even remember the rest of the names because they didn't feel like me. Like they were so far from me. I tried to come up with these names that would, stand out more, but it never felt quite like me. And I was making electronica music back then. And then I finally, once I started making more organic kind of band-orientated music, I realized that I'd finally found what the sound that I wanted to do and the way that I wanted to express my music. So I was like, of course, I'm just going to go with Pearl. Like, Pearl is my name. My mum called me that for a reason because she wanted me to be a star. And so I'll just run with the name that I got given.
Obviously, most people that watch Big Bang Radio Spotlights know we are based in North Carolina, in Nashville, but we focus a lot on the Raleigh, North Carolina scene. But you are an international artist. You are from Sydney, Australia, or close to Sydney, Australia, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, I'm in Sydney, Australia, currently situated in Bondi in my 2-bedroom apartment.
Wonderful. Well, how is it like being a musician there? Like in the States, it's there's little scenes that kind of pop up all around different areas depending where you go. How is the music scene in Sydney for the kind of music you make? And do you have like a favorite spot locally that you like to play? Obviously now, we can't play live because at the time of recording this, the coronavirus COVID-19 thing is kind of sweeping the whole world. But when you do play live shows, where's a local place that you just undeniably like? I love playing there.
My favorite places to play is probably the Lansdowne. It's a venue in Newtown. But I on that note, because you're comparing the deep south with Sydney, it's so different. I was in North Carolina last year, and I went to Nashville, Charleston, Texas, all the good stuff. It was like my dream trip to do,
Awesome,
and I had the best time. But the reason I wanted to go so badly was because I wanted to see what the musical culture was like over there. And it is astronomically bigger. Here, live music is still trying to get the ground back under its feet. Like it was huge back, 10, 20 years ago. Electronic music here just took over, and now it's so hard to see live music still, because people will DJ and for much cheaper. It's like I went to Nashville last year, and that road that goes through, is it Broadway Street? It's the road. It's like a famous road in Nashville.
I feel like you're probably on the right path there. Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, and it's venue after venue, and there's bands in every venue on every level, like 4 levels of bands. That is mind blowing to us. We are lucky. Like we're lucky to play gigs, once a fortnight. There you can play gigs every night, and you can probably play 2 or 3 gigs a night as well.
Well, we are going to talk about your new EP and your music on that. But before that, I thought I might mention this because in doing research on you for this interview, I noticed that you had a good amount of music videos up on online. Do you have a favorite music video that you've done?
It's funny. I love making interesting music videos, but it is the hardest part about making music is then going, okay, what's the visual aspect? How am I going to turn heads? How am I going to keep people watching for 3.5 to 4 minutes? One of my favorite ones is probably I Hate You, just because it was a super simple idea, and it was like filmed in a matter of 2-3 hours, and it was
wow, really?
super simple and super effective. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, because all that was, because I'm singing really, it appears that I'm singing really fast, right? But all we did was just slow down the track by however many seconds, and then shot in a certain frame time, and so that when you speed it up after, it matches directly the same time as the song. And so it was funny though, because I was literally like, I like drinking, and it was so slow to film, and it felt so stupid. But after, when it was done, it looks awesome. Yeah, so it's probably my favorite. Although I do really like my single-use plastic video clip, because I think that's when I decided to put a bit more money into it and kind of work in a studio and get some fancy lights and feel like a real pop star,
So single-use plastic, tell me a little bit more about maybe the writing of that and what people can expect for like the full release.
Single-use plastic is a song about single-use friendship. So it's actually, despite what the video clip insinuates, it's not about a relationship, like a love relationship. It's about a friend. And it's about a friend who, I think everyone has one of these people, but like they're up for a fun time, and they'll tell, and when you see them, they'll tell you all their problems and chew your ear off, and all of a sudden you're offering all this advice that you've offered over and over and over again. And those people that don't really listen or take it on board or do anything about their problems. So I wrote this song kind of as an ode to that, to single-use friendship. The music video, though, I actually have wait, I'll show you.
Please do.
So Kent is our resident house member.
Oh,
and
goodness.
Currently, that is terribly offensive, but I think he's dressed up as a nun. And he lives in our house, and I thought it would be really funny because the whole play on words of the single-use plastic and single-use friendship was to have the opposite, the counterpart, be a mannequin. So I thought that was very symbolic of, of that.
Heard that. Well, it's definitely a great song, and it's got a little. I was telling you before we started the interview, I love the synth part in there. It's got like this kind of dark, kind of like a rock tone, kind of with these poppy hook elements. It's a lot of fun, and it's really great. And also, I really love how much thought and work you put into crafting the songwriting and crafting the music. You definitely have a talent for this, and you definitely your music definitely does reach a lot of people. Considering I'm in the States and you're Australia, it definitely has reached a ton of people, and it's very great. And if people want to keep up with all that is happening with Pearl the Girl, how would they find you on social media?
They'll find me on social media. My handle is I am Pearl the Girl. And my EP will be out on June 16th, and it's called Oh Dear EP.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being with us, Pearl. I really do appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. But before we go, I did have one more question I wanted to ask you. I ask all my guests before they leave because I know you, like we discussed a little earlier, you have an acting background. I also have an acting background, and I also love film. I grew up making videos. I studied film. I review films actually here at the station and have a show called Big Bang Cinema where we talk about movie news and all that stuff that's happening in that world. Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen any of our interviews and seen me ask this to anybody else, but this is always one of my favorite parts, but this is always the hardest one for people to answer. What is your favorite movie?
Princess Bride.
Whoa, you answer that fast. Goodness.
Yeah, I didn't want to think about it because I've always said that Princess Bride is the best movie that brings everyone together. There's something for everyone in there. It brings like the action fighting with the love and the romance, and it's the perfect movie for couples to watch.
Thanks to Pearl the Girl for sitting down with me and talking all about her music. If you guys want to see more interviews just like this, you can go to facebook.com/Studio67NCC, youtube.com/NashComCollege, or you can find us on Instagram at Studio67NCC. Thank you all for watching. I'm Isaac Anderson, and until next time, stay lovely.